still going. Do you know, I thought the Danes were loud last week. You're louder. Fantastic. Welcome along to this week's Live to Pitch TV. I'm Mark Murphy. Great to have you along this week. Let me just run through our sponsors who make the show happen for us every week. Big thank you to our main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also to our other sponsors, All About Hearing, marketing company Ginger Pickle, Forward Floors, Come Hither Design, the Hudson Group, Sound 4 Pro Audio, Venue 16, Fred Olsen Logistics, John Keeble Cars in Bramford, the Dove in Ipswich, and Ashford Wright. Thank you all very much. And our sofa is also sponsored by DPS Tech. Let me introduce you to the team. It's Terry Butcher. Yay! It's Russell Osman. Yay! And from twtd.co.uk, it's Phil Ham. Yay! We've got Richard over there on technicals. Yay! Whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Richard. Happy birthday to you. Well done, Rich. And it was Russell Osman's birthday yesterday. And we've also got Mark over there on technicals. Leslie Dolphin is our floor manager. And today is our anniversary. And we've chosen to spend it with you tonight. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? We need a special guest, though. And it's no wonder we've got a big audience, is it? Do you think biggest so far?
Yes, by far the biggest. Yeah, by far the best as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got to live up to that. I'll tell you,
no pressure.
Now, yeah.
Capacity crowd. Oh, come on then. Big cheer. It's Matt Holland!
There's only one Matty Holland. One Matty Holland. There's only one Matty Holland. One Matty Holland. There's only one Matty Holland.
Well done, everybody. Fantastic. That's nice, wasn't it?
Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The only reason Leslie's here tonight is because you're here, and I think most of the capacity crowd are here because you're here tonight. Can I just ask you one question? So I was looking at some of the pictures that we've got around the studio here, and there are some pictures of you when you just arrived at Ipswich Town from Bournemouth. And you don't look any different.
Oh, I do.
Don't you think?
I looked about 12 when I signed.
Well, you're only about 15 now.
Yeah. Yeah. The secret's moisturiser.
Is it?
Yeah.
What do you eat? Do you eat it or something?
Daily moisturiser.
All right.
That's the way forward.
It's you and Ray Crawford are the ones, the evergreens.
Ray Crawford, definitely, isn't he? He's Mr.
He's
Peter
amazing,
Pan,
isn't he?
What a man. What a man Ray Crawford is.
Do you moisturise?
No. I would never admit to it either.
Modern man.
Yeah. I've got my mother's skin, so I'm okay. I don't have to. So, what about you, Phil? Do you?
Oh yeah, you have to.
You have a regime.
You've got so much skin to.
Because you're worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He has a polish up now and again.
Yeah.
Bless him. Do you ever go to play tenpin bowling at all? Get confused with?
No. Funny enough, not. No.
Just checking. Look, it's great to have you on the show. We're so pleased that you're here. We've got a lot of memorabilia from your time at Town around here. Look, there's the flag over there behind Phil from 2000. Who was at Wembley? We're all going on a European tour. That was for your time here. A lot of the scarves and everything as well. Fantastic signing you were for us, and you must have loved your time here.
Oh, I certainly did. Yeah, what a football club. I mean, I grew up in Bury near Manchester, and Ipswich when Terry Butcher was playing, Russell Osman was playing, George Burley, Paul Cooper. The names just roll off the tongue, and that group of players, was a fabulous team. And I remember I used to go and watch my dad play every Saturday, and he'd come back afterwards and say, what are the scores, and I'd always say, well, the Ipswich this, and I said, Paul Cooper saved the penalty. Because every week he seemed to save a penalty, Paul Cooper, didn't he? It was incredible. But
I normally gave it away, yeah. But thanks for reminding me about
sorry,
that.
Butch, sorry. But yeah, so I was well aware of the history of the football club when I signed, and as soon as I knew that Ipswich were interested, I was absolutely desperate to make the move from Bournemouth because it was a step up. Obviously, I was playing in League One. Ipswich were in the Championship, been knocking on the door of the Premier League because they'd been in the playoffs. And when George came down to see me in the Royal Bath Hotel, it was in Bournemouth. As soon as he came to see me, we had a conversation, and I went back to she was my girlfriend at the time, my wife. I said, we're moving. She said, we're what? I said, we're moving. We're going to Ipswich. Funnily enough, she was actually born in Ipswich. Oh, right. Amazingly. But, so she said, oh, right, OK, fine. So off we trotted and I had 6 brilliant years here.
Well, we loved every minute of it, and it should have been longer, really, shouldn't it, for us? It really
well,
should have been
it
longer.
would have been nice to be longer, to be honest. I mean, unfortunately, circumstances dictated, really, that I had to go. I did turn down a move the previous summer to Aston Villa, and that summer it was made quite clear to me that I needed to move.
I think we all ended up in the same boat, didn't we? I ended up in that sort of predicament in '85. You were the same in '86, eh? Yeah. So we all were succumbed to the financial pressures, so to speak.
Were you aware of that? Because obviously you say that it was Villa, wasn't it? I think the previous summer. Were you aware of the situation at the club at the time? Yeah,
I mean, obviously we sold a number of players at the time as well, and a lot of players had to move on. So I was aware of the situation, but at the same time, it has to be right for you as well as an individual. The move wasn't quite right. I had a 4-year deal at Ipswich, and they offered me a 3-year contract. And that it didn't make sense really. Graham Taylor was the manager. I actually spoke to Graham Taylor at length, but I just didn't get quite the right vibe. Funnily enough, he got sacked about 3 months later. So I'd have gone there, and he got sacked 3 months later. So look, it would have been a great move. Aston Villa, a fabulous football club. But it just wasn't right at the right time, and there's lots of reasons. People said, because I wouldn't move. That's not the case at all. It's just that the move wasn't right at the time.
Well, I think we got our money's worth, don't you? Because you missed you missed 1 game in 6 years.
Is that what
One
it was?
league game.
1 league game, yeah.
Yeah.
1 league game against Gillingham. I was on international duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't injured.
There's no excuse, but I mean,
no. To be honest, the first game I missed was against Crewe in the cup. And George rested me, and I wasn't happy. I wasn't particularly happy at all. But hey, there you go.
It wasn't a big game to miss out on, though, was it?
No, but when you're on a long run of consecutive games, you want to keep it going as long as possible, don't you? And it's not even that really. I just love playing football. I hated missing games. I was a really bad watcher of football. Because you're kicking and heading every single ball, and
well, you now do lots of commentaries for the game, so you actually watch it.
No, it's different now because I love football. Football's always been my life. I grew up in my first pair of football boots. I slept in them. I mean, it's like football was my life. It was my passion, and I used to go and watch my dad from the age of 3 on the touchline kicking a ball. It was everything I ever wanted to do. So I'm lucky that I'm still, in football in some degree, watching it, media, going to lots of games all the time. So yeah, I mean, I'm all right watching it now. But when I was a player, you can't affect the game from the crowd. It's you can't do anything.
You want to be out there, don't you?
You want to be out there and be able to affect the game.
We're going to come back and talk to Matt about that in a moment. We've got a lot to talk about his career, but we want to talk about Town's recent games as well. So let's talk about that right now. The season so far, brought to you in association with the Dove in Ipswich. So, West Brom, how unlucky were we there?
I think it's one of those games where if it went on for another 5 minutes, we'd definitely have won, wouldn't we? I think one of the things we've noticed in a number of games, both Leicester games, the West Brom game, another one, that we seem to have that much more energy at the end of a game than opposition sides do. And whether it's just because we kind of swap most of the front 4 or 5, or it's just that the general level of fitness in the squad is that much higher than other teams. But I think, again, we went behind, which has been a bit of a kind of Achilles heel over recent months. But you don't write us off, do you, in any of these games, because you know that we'll come back. And and I don't think West Brom fans would deny that we deserved a point when Amari Hutchinson scored that goal right at the end. And if anyone was going to win it, it was going to be us in that closing period. And and I think it showed how far perhaps we've come on a bit since we played them only just before Christmas, really, when they were much the better side than us at the Hawthorns.
We can really turn up that day.
Yeah.
What do you put this extra energy down to? Is it training?
I'd argue with the fittest team in the league. I mean, the statistics last season were we would have by far the fittest team in League One. We are right up there again in the Championship. They said that when they looked at the stats from last year in League One, they said that they needed to improve by whatever % this year in the Championship, and they have done. They're right up the top again. It might not be very first, but they're right up there in terms of the fitness data. So we are one of the fittest teams. I do think we are a team. We've got a really good squad, got great depth to it. So we are able to make changes, and people can affect it off the bench, which is really important. We've got goals throughout the side as well. You're not relying on one person to get the goals. But I do think that our fitness levels are such that, you know, teams find it very difficult to live with us.
Teams have to work hard against us, Matt, don't they, to keep up with us when we play the type of game that we play is possession based. They move the ball pretty quickly, could move it quicker at times, but it does make the opposition work really hard. And even though they might get on top of us for a short while, it's very hard to maintain the pressure that someone
we're a really hungry team. You know, we've got a really good group who put everything into it, and you can see the desire week in, week out, and they don't know when they're beaten. You know, the year that we got promoted, I would argue that we were quite similar. We went behind in quite a lot of games and came back and won matches. And it's been the same this year as well. We've been behind in lots of matches, but we've come back and won them because there's a lot of character in this dressing room. And it does remind me, when I look at it, as the year that we got promoted, a very similar feel amongst the group. When you go in the dressing room, you speak to the players, you know, they are good human beings. That first and foremost, they're good human beings. They all want, they all want to be here. They all want to be part of the community, go and do stuff with the foundation, and be a part of Ipswich and Suffolk as a whole. And so they're good human beings who are hungry to do well. And you know, we're very lucky to have a manager that we've got who has coached them to be the team that they are at the moment.
What do you think, Butch, about this hunger not to lose, to keep going right to the very end?
Well, especially at home, when you look at the crowd, there's a responsibility for the players to give their utmost and a bit more as well for the crowd, because the crowd has just been unbelievable since a lot of the players have come here, and Kieran's come here. You know, the fans have been absolutely brilliant. They've responded fantastically well, and so have the players to that. You feed off that as a player. You feed off that energy from the crowd, and then going away has been slightly different because they're not as, what can I say? Our crowd going away is a sellout anyway, so it was a big crowd from Ipswich Town fans, but obviously they're outnumbered by the home support, but it takes a bit of a while. But they still have this confidence with the system, and Kieran is a manager that if we lose or we generally draw, he doesn't go overboard at all. He's still very positive. He's still saying the right things all the time, and I think as a player that will give you energy as well, because he's not. He can rant and rave, we all know that, but you never see that in public. He's very measured in what he says, but he's always very, very positive in what he says. And if you're a player that's got that hunger and the manager's positive, and you look at him and say, well, he's leading them really, really well, and you gain energy from that.
It's a bit chicken and egg, isn't it, with the crowd, because the crowd have got to have something to feed off. So the players are a really good team to watch as well. So that automatically the crowd want to go and watch that type of football because it's good to watch. But I have to say the support has been incredible. You said it to me not that long ago, Butch. You went, I don't know where they've all come from. He said, we were in Europe every year and we didn't get crowds like this. And the support at the moment is outrageous. Awesome, yeah. It is so good. Home and away, selling out all over the country. I can't commend the supporters enough because and the players feed off that as well, but also the crowd have got a team that they can be proud of, and they've got a team that are playing really good football.
Wow. Oh, you're fantastic. You're all fantastic. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yeah, well done.
Brilliant.
Well done.
Makes all the difference. Who was at Millwall last night?
Yeah.
Oh, see, a lot of travelling support.
A lot of travelling support again, yeah.
And in not easy circumstances last night.
It was a bit
as well.
difficult to get there last night, wasn't it?
I think you're talking about Valentine's Day.
Well, I was thinking about the bridge. Really.
Oh, the bridge.
I think a lot of the coaches arrived with about 5 minutes to go. I arrived with about 10 minutes.
I was going to say they're only just back.
Yeah.
So
it was. So
that was a very different game, though, wasn't it?
It was. Well, actually, it started. I was talking to one of their journalists, and he said that Millwall always start very well, but they'll fade. And it was exactly as the game went. First 15 minutes, they were on top. They had one or two opportunities, but didn't really. They didn't look convincing. And then after Amari Hutchinson sat down, had a bit of an injury, there was a bit of a chat on the side. They made 1 or 2 adjustments. Kieran said in his press conference afterwards that that they lined up slightly differently. They played sort of what he felt was a sort of back 4 stroke back 5, and that they didn't press in quite the way that he had envisaged. So they made a little adjustment, and then really there was only 1 team in it from there.
What do you think of Murray Hutchison? Sat down? Was he tired or something, or he's?
I think it was a little tactical sort of thing. I don't know.
Was it?
Yeah. I didn't see any crunching challenges
Did you never
go
sit
in
down in
moments
your day?
earlier.
Sit down in our day, you must be joking. You only sat down after the game, and then sometimes you didn't even sit down after the game.
Yeah. But anyway, it sort of proved a kind of bit of a catalyst, and we kind of dominated from there, and really didn't have to do a whole lot because Millwall gifted us chances, didn't they? And we took those chances. We've talked in recent weeks about how I think we had more than 20 shots in the previous 3 games. But obviously didn't score enough to win most of those games. We had 4 shots on target at Millwall and scored 4 goals. I know, admittedly, one of them was an own goal, but clinical finishing from. Not good to see Nathan Broadhead back on the score sheet, 2 in 2 games, because obviously he'd had 8 games without scoring. I think he looked as if he was trying a little bit too hard during that period, and I think he was getting a bit frustrated with himself more than anything else. But 2 goals in 2 games, that suits him. Kiefer Moore has come in, 3 goals in 3 games, so he'll be on top of the world, and I think it's kind of. And Harry Clark obviously played a strong role in that, and he's perhaps not had the season he would perhaps have hoped at times. And Hutchinson, we mentioned him earlier, I think he excelled in that role, playing in the middle where Connor Chaplin usually does, but playing it slightly differently because he's able to run at people, which Connor doesn't really do. And then Ali Al-Hamadi at the end, coming on. He's made an impression in each of the games that he's played, hasn't he? From the bench, and got his goal from won the penalty first of all, and then scored the penalty. So. Yeah.
Nice of Chappers to let him take that, wasn't it? I thought last night as well. I mean, he gave it to him, didn't he, to get his first goal? Because Chappers would have ordinarily taken that, wouldn't he?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm not
Kieran
sure.
said afterwards that the designated penalty taker wasn't on the pitch, so then it just becomes a matter of who.
I think the best goal was Broadhead's, because it sort of reminded me of myself when I got up and flicked it in the corner, but it was
in the wrong net.
It was normally past Paul Cooper.
yeah.
Pick that one out, Coop.
But yeah, it was a lovely flicked header.
Richard liked that one.
It was a good ball. It was a very difficult ball to defend, I think, wasn't it? And it was a great start. And once we kind of settled, but I think it's an important win. We won 1 in 9 before that, hadn't we? And I know that doesn't tell the full story because we'd drawn with Leicester and we beat Sunderland and actually played quite well in most of those games. But I still think getting results. I mean,
but for some of the personnel, it was important as well.
Yeah.
You know, Hlad keeping a clean sheet, Harry Clark, decent performance, and I think the way the game is now, the fullbacks, especially the way we play, attract a lot of attention to themselves. You know, you can picture Leif Davis all day long going up and down like the left side of the pitch, getting lots of possession and linking up with people down there. And Clark being asked to do a lot down the other side, but with Wes Burns in front of him. And he has made 1 or 2 mistakes, and we've conceded a few from that area between Clarkey and Luke Wolfenden. Not always Clarkey, not always Wolfie, you know, but between them they can tighten up that area. But it has been highlighted, so it's good that he had a decent game last night again.
And I think it was important getting Burgess back as well, because now you've got the balance, a left footer and a right footer. So, you know, it sort of secures things, and getting that clean sheet, that's only the 3rd clean sheet in, 10 games.
I think that's
important.
really interesting about Cameron Burgess as well. I think he does give you that balance because of the left foot as well. I mean, George has been brilliant when he's been in the side, player of the month in January, so it's not like he's been doing anything particularly wrong. But when there's a right-footed player playing on that side of the pitch, he wants to come inside all the time. Whereas I think we saw Leaf probably be more attacking yesterday because he got more of the ball, because Cameron opens his body up and plays Leaf in early. So that balance of a left footer on that side, I think, definitely helped.
I think George has got to use the old left peg a bit more. A bit like Tommy Smith. Tommy was predominantly left-footed, and Tommy used to have to go in a full circle just to keep it on his left foot sometimes, because he would not use his right foot apart from standing on it.
I think George was unavailable last night because he had a Valentine's Day. I think that was the thing. Yeah.
There seemed to be a lot of Millwall fans who were on Valentine's Days last night. The stadium was very empty, I have to say.
Well, certainly watching it on telly, we outsung the Millwall, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was very noticeable, wasn't it?
Fantastic.
It's been mentioned
really
by
good.
a number of people. Yeah, but we were very loud last night, and they were very quiet. Well, they're very quiet apart from when they were booing.
Yeah.
But you look at the games that we've got coming up: Swansea away, Rotherham, Birmingham, Plymouth, Bristol City. They're the top-ranked team of the next 7 games. Cardiff, Sheffield Wednesday. These are all potentially very winnable games, and I think this sequence of games now coming up is important because that builds momentum again from a stutter which we've had in New Year. And I think now going in, playing the right team at the right time last night, getting the clean sheet, scoring the 4 goals, bang up there. Southampton losing the other night as well. The most difficult games are Southampton at home, Norwich away, Coventry away, and possibly Hull away. But better late than never anyway. Yeah.
We've got all night. We'll wait. Don't worry. Sorry, I was just recovering from that Norwich boo. Top 2?
Oh, no, he missed that. Yeah, there we go.
Top 2, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, look, we more than capable of finishing the top 2. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, we have got a run of games now where you think they're winnable and we can put ourselves back in the picture. But we're a good side and we are capable of finishing the top 2. Whether we do or not, who knows? But we've got a great chance.
Well, I mean, it's again a good transfer window. We had a good one last year, didn't we? We've had another good one this time round. I loved Kiefer Moore's headed goal last night. Head it down, bump into the net like that. That was just great to watch, and it was good signing. And Al Hamady looks really sharp as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks a handful. Yeah. He does look a handful. I saw him a couple of times already this season, and like what I saw, like his attitude as well. He's talk about people who are hungry. He looks really hungry. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good January because it was a difficult January. When you think about the Premier League, they didn't spend too much money. And then that means it doesn't filter down to the Championship and lower as well. So I think it was a difficult window to work in and operate in. But it just goes to show that the work that's being done behind the scenes and how well set we are behind the scenes as well now. We've got the right people in the right areas doing the right things. And when you've got all that, and everyone pulling in the right direction, then you've got a chance. So we're very lucky to be where we are. If you just said to me 3 years ago, we'd be on the cusp of getting back into the Premier League, I'd have gone, really? We've got absolutely no chance. 3 years ago, you'd have had absolutely no chance. We were treading water in League One, not looking like doing anything, really. Kieran's come in, Mark Ashton's come in, the new ownership have come in, and all of a sudden, everything is in a different place. The infrastructure, and that's important as well. Kieran wanted a new pitch, and you think the difference that the pitch has made. I know they've spent a lot of money on the pitch, but that's made a big difference to the team. So absolutely, everything now is set for us to be ready to go to the Premier League. Whether we do it this year or not, who knows? But we're in a good place going forward as well for this not just to be a flash in the pan and 1 year where we're knocking on the door and we go, next season we finish 17th, 18th or something like that. We're in a good place to keep challenging. As we were, when we got promoted, it was about, 4th time lucky, wasn't it? So where we were knocking on the door, I think that the club was in the right place then and it's in the right place now.
I think one of the best things that happened to the club is a new stadium announcer. Don't you, Mark?
I've heard they're trying to replace him, but
Yeah, they could do with a new press box.
Yeah, I'm still getting over announcing Leeds United when it was Plymouth, but never mind.
So that'll never go away.
No, I don't think it will. No. Let's take you back to your time at Town. You said it was lovely when George came to see you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had a fantastic time at Town. Take us back to those early days. Who were the players around you when you first arrived?
Crikey, when I first arrived, I mean, the very first training session, I took Simon Milton out. I know.
What, for a drink?
No, literally took him out because you're so eager to impress. You just arrived, you think, young kid, just gone to a bigger club, and you
picked up the smallest, yeah.
Honestly, first day training, and it was on the practice pitch outside the ground at Portman Road. Studs went up, caught him all the way down the chest. Had stud marks all down his chest. And he was thinking, who's this young lad who's just turned up and who does he think he is?
He wasn't that polite, was he?
No, probably not at the time. Tony Mowbray gave me the best bit of advice I've ever been given.
What was that? What did he say to you?
So at the end of my first season, I was player of the year. I had a good year. And I was sort of probably one of the lower earners, I would imagine, at the club. And I said to Moggy, what do you think? Should get new contracts and new money? He said, don't worry about the money. He said, forget the money. The money's irrelevant. He said, if you do it out there on the pitch, the money will find you. He said, so all you've got to concentrate on He's doing the business out on that pitch. And that was the best bit of advice I ever got from anyone, really. And it is the most important thing. You know, the money's in football's amazing now. It's gone through the roof, hasn't it? But it's still that love of playing football and, you know, doing your stuff out on the pitch is the most important thing that you can do.
That's amazing, because we got that same advice, not from Moggers,
Bobby
but
Robson.
from Bobby Robson. And we're still waiting for the money to come our way, aren't we?
You fell for that one,
We
didn't
fell
we?
for that one, yeah. But it worked for you, yeah.
No, I mean, Jim Magilton wouldn't have been there then, but like Mark Venus, Mark Venus and I signed at the same time. We were in the same hotel for a little while. Speak to Vino quite regularly now, and so yeah, there's some great characters, great people, and a good feel in the dressing room. Just a good. I'll tell you someone. Adam Tanner was someone who was in the dressing room, because when I first signed, didn't really know that many people really in the dressing room. But Adam Tanner was someone I grew up with. We were at Arsenal together as kids, under 10s, under 11s. We played in the same Sunday team for a little while as well. So I'd known Adam Tanner for quite some time. Growing up as a kid, so coming into the dressing room, you're sort of looking around, who do I speak to? And luckily someone was there that, friendly face or whatever, that Adam Tanner, who I'd known, and he'd known his family as well. I know you're keen to get him on, aren't you? So I said I'd give him a mention tonight. So Adam, you've definitely got to come on the show now. You've definitely got to come on.
You said earlier on that it was, year after year after year of knocking on the door of the Premier League. Did you feel with all those knockbacks that you wouldn't do it, or was there always the belief that at some point you would get there?
No, there was always there was, in my view anyway, in my feeling was that we would always do it. We would always get there. Yeah, only simply because if you keep knocking on the door often enough, eventually the door will break down, and if you keep doing the right things over and over again, then think it will happen for you. It took maybe. Everyone's, the signing of Marcus Stewart. You talk about January transfer window and how that can make such a difference. Marcus Stewart come in, the difference that he made as well, just that little bit of quality, his movement and his finishing. Everyone remembers the goals against Bolton and his goal in the final. His movement for the goal in the final was unreal. It was, the way he just goes in once, comes out, and then gets back across his man. It's just top draw, because he wasn't the quickest, Marcus. We'll go for a sprint now, 100 yards. Not now, but going back a few years, if you had a sprint, he wouldn't be the first in the race. But his movement and his thinking was always a couple of yards ahead.
How did you feel before Marcus scored the two goals in that first leg? How did you 2-0 down? Did you?
Well, you feel like everything's going against you, don't you? Because I think David Johnson had got injured, hadn't he? We had a few injuries as well, and then you just feel as though it's going against you. But as I said, that year we did go behind quite a lot, and we were quite not used to it, but we were able to come back. We had the character to come back. But Marcus's goals were just ridiculous, weren't they? The first one was on his plate for him, obviously, when I just laid it in.
Was
and
it your assist, was it?
Yeah, and he smashed it in from about 40 yards. But yeah, it was right on a plate for him. But the second one, the composure. The goal he scored at Anfield, just wow. Yeah, he was a top player. We had a lot of top players, though. I think that's the key. George's ability to pick a player was unreal.
I'm not being disrespectful here at all, but there were no sort of big name stars at that point, were there? You were a very strong unit, and do you see that now as well?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can see a lot of similarities really between the group now and the group that we had. People who were hungry to succeed, hungry to get better, hungry to improve. I think that's the key as well. To get George Burley, I think, spent so much time making me a better footballer as well. Him and Dale Roberts, I should mention Dale as well. The time that they spent on trying to improve me as a player, and that's what Kieran's doing now. He's improving players. People are getting better, and that's called coaching. And George certainly did that with us, our group, and we all grew together really. And we did have a really good team spirit. I think that's crucial, that everyone's pulling in the right direction, pulling in the same direction.
I think it's similarities where players came from. You came from Bournemouth, and that John McGreal came from Tranmere, and
David Johnson from Bury.
Bury. And you look at the squad now, Wes from Fleetwood, and plenty of them been picked up from lower division clubs, and now are kind of on the cusp of the Premier League. What I was going to say about the that kind of moment when you're 2-0 down in the playoff semi-final. For you, it was the third year, wasn't it? And
my third year.
And for other players, it was the fourth year, and for those of us on the terraces, it was the fourth year. And I'm sure plenty of us were there. I mean, there's the weight of history as well, there, isn't there? You're not just. I mean, I know you talked about that season coming back from behind a lot, but you've got to put that out of your mind, haven't you, as a player on the pitch at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I said to you earlier about I hated missing games. I mean, because when you're on the pitch, you can affect it. That's where, it's difficult to explain to people really sometimes. When you're watching a game, I'm the same now. I'm kicking and heading every single ball. I want us to score, but you can't do anything from where you are. But on the pitch, there's almost like you're quite calm. You don't feel that nervousness because that's your job and that's what you understand, and you just go about your business and that's what you do. So I don't think we were unduly affected by going 2-0 down because we knew we had quality who could do something like Marcus did that day, and obviously Jim did.
Oh, Jim, yeah.
Jim did in the semi.
That game at Portman Road was often, I think, for many fans, the best game we've ever seen. I think, in many cases, obviously the final at Wembley was immense, but to get to know that you're going to Wembley was very special.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a kid growing up, I mean, these guys won some massive trophies. But as a kid growing up, I dreamt of playing at Wembley, lifting an FA Cup. That would have been my ultimate thing. As I said, football was my life, and to be able to play at Wembley, to be able to, win a trophy, to be able to lift the trophy, walk the steps, and lift the trophy at Wembley, you're living out your boyhood dreams. As I said, ideally it would have been an FA Cup, but a playoff final wasn't a bad second best, really, if you're honest.
If you could guarantee going up, it's better to go up that way than almost an automatic, isn't it?
Well,
You say that.
Meaning?
yeah.
You say that, but
Let's just get up, eh? Let's just get up. I don't care how.
I mean, even if Town don't win, and it looks like Leicester are going to win the championship, you still go up a second. A lot of people don't really remember the second place team, but everybody else does the next season because you're in the Premier League.
Yeah. Well, we'll remember it if it happens.
we
We will indeed. What was that day like? The preparation towards that day at Wembley.
I mean, I think George tried for it to be as normal as possible. If that's not the easiest thing to do, is it? Because it's your biggest day in your life, really. How much it means to so many people to be able to play in the Premier League. So, so we tried to be as normal as possible, do everything that we would normally do. I think we had a couple of days in a hotel in Windsor. I think we were 2 days, which is unusual because normally you only stay one night before a game. But I think I'm fairly sure we were 2 nights before. It's actually so long ago. Your brain plays tricks on you sometimes.
I was talking about this to some of the people I work with on a match day, and they were sort of laughing at me the other day. And I said, "Why are you laughing?" I wasn't born until 2004, said one.
Yeah.
I wasn't born until 2006.
That's
said
quite
the other.
scary now. When you come
and
out,
it was like, oh,
when you
okay.
come out the ground now, and people are sort of asking for the autographs of the players, and the young kids are looking at you, and the parents go, "He used to play, He used to play." And you're like, oh, God. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, cheers. Yeah.
Wasn't there a video you watched on the coach on the way to the ground that I think Ken Way, the psychologist, had put together of kind of your highlights?
We did that quite a bit.
We
did that quite a bit on the away journeys. Yeah. Ken Way was the psychologist, and he put together this video of all the high points. I think it was a video of certainly whoever scored a goal that season was on that video. And if you hadn't scored a goal, it might have been a big tackle or a goal-saving challenge or something. But it was all the positive messages that you'd get from watching a video of that nature. So, yeah. Ken Way was a good guy, really good guy as well. And that's what I mean. Everyone, it's not just about the 11 on the pitch. It's about the support as well. It's the support you get from the coaching staff, the manager, everybody, the kit man, everyone. And so, everyone played the part in that.
It was a fantastic day out, wasn't it, with the Barnsley fans? It was just such a friendly, lovely day out. Clearly better that we won, but it was a nice day out for all of the fans of both sides. What was it like when you went out on the pitch and you saw all the fans there? Because it was just immense, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was immense. Yeah, because the tunnel obviously was behind the goal, wasn't it? So you used to walk, and we came out to the Ipswich fans. When you see the blue and white, I mean, incredible. Here's the back of my neck standing up now. It's that sort of moment, and coming home after the victory as well. The A12, the bridge is full of supporters. The the celebrations at the Suffolk Showground afterwards. To be honest, I was so tired after and emotionally drained after it. I really couldn't celebrate and just wanted to go home and watch and basically celebrate with my dad, because my dad was a massive influence on me as a youngster, and you know, took me here, there, and everywhere to become a footballer. And sadly, he's not with us anymore. But that day, I saw about 10:30. I'd had enough. To be honest, I had enough of Jim Majorton on the mic. That's why, because I couldn't get the mic off him. No one could get the mic off him that night. Got home about 10:30 and just sat with my dad, and we just sort of sat and looked at each other and watched the game. Actually, I think we might have even watched the highlights or whatever, and said, "We did it, Dad," because I wouldn't have got to where I got to and do what I did without him.
It's a lovely moment to share.
It was
a lovely moment to share.
Yeah, I mean, he did everything. I know, never a crossword, never a you should have done this, you should have done that. We had a few quiet journeys home from matches, but never a crossword. And after a game, he'd always be my first call. I think by the time I was 16, 17, he'd never missed a game.
Did he call it as he saw it? So you had an indifferent game or something like that.
He just went quiet. Rare. He just went quiet, Butch. Right. He just went quiet.
So you knew.
I knew. We had a lot of quiet journeys home from matches. But he was such a big part of what I did. I mean, look, I know that I got every ounce out of my career that I could have done, because I'm not the most talented player that's ever walked the planet. I was a decent player, but I wasn't the most talented. But I had a big heart, and I gave everything in every single game. And for me to be able to just sit with my dad and be able to say, "Dad, we did." I've got scrapbooks at home, honestly, that I could write a book. Honestly, I could write a book. I've got hundreds and hundreds of cuttings from when I was this big to, you know, playing in the Premier League and playing for Ireland and all those things. And so he used to do that. You know, my mum and dad split up, and he moved north, and so he didn't get to every game when I was playing professionally. But as I say, till 16, 17, he never missed a match, and then he came to a lot of games. But after every game, my first call would be my dad.
Oh, that's fantastic, brilliant. That's lovely.
So how long did it take to settle in, to realise I'm a Premier League player? I've just led Ipswich into the Premier League.
Yeah, that's the start again, though, isn't it? That's the next journey, isn't it? That's the next step. You know, it's great and it's fabulous, but there's always something else you can achieve. There's always. It's nice to be able to get to that point, but then what can you do after that as well? You can't be satisfied with being a Premier League footballer. It's nice, it's great. You know, you're going to play in the Premier League, and play against the best players, and that for me was always something that I wanted to do. I wanted to play against the best players and test myself and see where I was at, really. But there's always another level, isn't there? There's always the next step. And
well, the next step is international. So you think you play for Ireland. You play for Ireland, right? But you were born in Bury.
Is this on your notes?
Yeah.
Is this on your notes?
Did you drink a pint of Guinness and then you qualified? Is that right, Ross?
You were affectionately known as Matty Holland, weren't you?
Exactly. Thank you. This sofa. We'll stick together. Yeah, we'll stick together.
Good Irish middle name as well, isn't it?
It was my Reece.
Yeah.
Reece is my middle name. No, my dad's side of the family are Irish, and I was well aware of it. I was well aware of the connection. And Mick McCarthy obviously was the manager at the time, and he actually phoned me at home because mobiles. I did have a mobile. I'll tell you, he used to phone me at home all the time. Dave Allard. Honestly, every Sunday morning I get a phone call. Can I have a quote for the? No, Dave. It's 7:30 on a Sunday morning. Just leave me alone.
Evening Star, East Anglian Daily Times.
Honestly, it was unbelievable.
Dave Allard.
So Mick McCarthy phoned me at home, and said, "Look, I know I think George had made him aware that you can play for. Would you be interested?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." Well, actually, no. When he first got on the phone, I thought it was someone taking the mickey. That's your first instinct, isn't it? It's one of the lads messing about, isn't it?
Well, it was Mickey McCarthy, so there we are.
Yeah. So I was panicking, thinking, and it was almost thinking, my brain's whirring. Is it really him? Is it really him? And the voice is quite distinguishable, isn't it? So I thought, I think it must be. And I said, yeah. Played a B international. And if you read his book, actually, he said, because I've read his book since. He said he watched the game. He said I was best player on the pitch, and I knew then he was going to be an international. So, played that game against the League of Ireland side for Ireland B, if you like, and then was in pretty much every squad that he picked after that.
Enjoyable, obviously, to get your name on the honours board at Portman Road alongside such illustrious players as you're sitting alongside now. That's not me, that's those two.
You're talking about the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
The Hall of Fame. Wow. I mean, that was a huge moment. I mean, crikey. For me, it's a privilege to have worn the blue of Ipswich. Absolute privilege to have been able to represent this brilliant football club. And then, I mentioned it when I was a youngster, talking about some of the names that have played for this club. It's just in awe, really, of some of the quality that's played for this football club. So then when you're selected by that group of people to be in the Hall of Fame, it's a very proud moment.
Well, you richly deserve it, really do. Premier League, what happened that first season? We were all thinking, it'd be nice just to survive. And you ended up, fifth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Into Europe, hence the flag above Phil's head. We were all going on a European tour.
Did you? I mean, what were your expectations going into that season?
What were your expectations? I don't know. We set monthly points targets. So we had meetings and we set monthly points targets.
We set monthly points targets.
They're having a good go at them over here as well in the crowd.
I know where you're coming from.
I think we were realistic in the ambitions of the players. As I said, I knew we were a good team, and I knew we could, cope at that level. But you're never quite sure. So the first game we played Tottenham, Vino scored really early. We went 1-0 up, and you think, here we go, and then you get punished for small mistakes, and they end up beating us 3-1. I think Redbroth maybe scored. So they'd spent a lot of money on these people, these players. And you start thinking, cool, blimey, this is a bit different. Like, if you make a mistake now, you are going to get punished. When we drew with Man United the next game, I think that's when you think, they've just done the treble, and we've just drawn with them at home. I think we'll be all right. I think we've got a chance of being okay. And I think that game was really important for us, confidence-wise, to say, we belong at this level. And I think that made a big difference.
And then there were other games, I think, like Leeds away. I think that was another one. You came from behind in that game, didn't you? I think
Scully scored in that, did he?
Yeah, and I think Jermaine Wright got the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was the.
My memory's not that bad.
I've got a computer in front of me, so it does help. That was where the sort of 2-1 to the Tractor Boys sort of thing started as well, wasn't it? That kind of.
My favourite memory that year actually was Everton away.
Yes.
When I think John McGreal scored as well, didn't he? And Marcus got a couple. Marcus Stewart got a couple.
Yeah.
And the Everton fans applauded us off the pitch for our performance, and that was a really good moment for us. When you go to a Premier League ground, a Premier League club, and actually Everton's an amazing place. Goodison, when you walk around the stadium, you see the history of that football club as well. Joe Royal obviously was a manager here as well, but you see all the timeline of what they've done as a football club, and that day I think was a really big one for us. That when you get the home crowd, rather than boo their team off, they actually applauded the away team off. I thought that was a really nice moment.
3-0. I mean, that's
3-0.
Man City is another one I remember. I think
Man
we were
City.
3-0 up at one stage in that. I think you scored in that, did you?
I don't know, Phil.
I'll have to
You tell
scroll
me.
down. And Liverpool, of course. Liverpool 1-0. Your side never managed to win at Liverpool.
Okay.
But it's
Carry on.
I'm using you as the benchmark.
Well,
I'm using you as the
that
benchmark.
is the benchmark. That is the
Exactly. You are the benchmark.
You better carry on, or else I'll put you over that bench.
But yeah, 1-0 at Anfield. I mean,
Marcus's goal was unreal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Marcus's goal that day was fantastic. There were some great days, some amazing memories.
And into Europe, which was incredible, wasn't it? The European tour. What was that like for you guys?
Well, crikey. I mean, like I said to you, you're always looking for the next thing.
Was it a hindrance, though, in the league?
The second year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. Yeah, I think there was a number of factors in that second year that you can point to. Won't go into them all now, but certainly I think playing in Europe played a part in it, definitely. Maybe it took our eye off the Premier League a little bit because it was, something a bit different, something that we hadn't done previously. But again, there was some amazing European nights as well. I mean, you think about Inter Milan, the travel to the San Siro as well, the away game. But the night when we beat Inter Milan at home, I know these guys are the benchmark. You keep saying it, Phil.
Only 'cause I get
we're still
told off if I
unbeaten. We're
don't.
still unbeaten at home in Europe, so we managed to keep that one going.
Keep that one
so we
going,
did
yeah.
manage to keep that going.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was then there were lots. I mean, another thing, recruitment perhaps as well. George sort of changed his
Don't
direction
start
a little
with Phil,
bit.
Don't start with me. Yeah.
One or two characters that perhaps didn't fit in. Is that fair to say?
Meaning?
I wouldn't like to pick any individual out. I think there was a number of us who underperformed in that second year comparatively. Europe. I think there was a lot of things that contributed.
Injuries
to
as
it.
well. I think Jim was out for a long period. Marcus was out for a long period.
So, as I say, there was a few who didn't quite reach the heights of the previous season as well. So,
And you made your home around these parts, which so many ex-players do. It's a lovely part of the world, actually. And now working at Ipswich Town on Town TV, enjoying that?
yeah, love it. Yeah, love it. I mean, it's obviously a new venture for the football club to have their own TV channel and be able to have a studio around the matches. I'm not sure the players are too happy about having some of these ex-players tell them what they should and shouldn't be doing.
Well, I'm sure they'll get used to it. I'm sure they will.
They're going to have to. They're going to have to get
They're
used
gonna
to
have
it.
to,
So
yeah.
they're going to have
Take
to
a bit
get
of
used to
notice.
it. We try and be.
Is there any TV company, radio company that you've not worked for?
I don't think there's many.
No.
I don't think there's
No,
many.
I couldn't find one.
No, you couldn't find one. No.
I mean, I remember when you first arrived at Ipswich, you did a radio show when you were at Bournemouth, didn't you? And then I
Yeah.
think Leslie Dolphin, who's our floor manager, did a big programme with you when you first arrived, because you'd already got a kind of media presence. So was that always in the back of your mind? You know, what next?
To be honest, when I finished playing, I was never quite sure what I was going to do. But I spoke to Andy Townsend actually about this, and we were at a game, I think at Southend maybe. I was doing some stuff in the media then, and I had a chat with him. I said, and I was still playing at the time. The first radio commentary I did, I was 28, and it was actually a Charlton game. I did it for 5 Live, Charlton versus Aston Villa. That was the first commentary I'd done, and I spoke to Andy Townsend. Said, "What do you think?" He said, "Keep as many doors open as possible, because you never know which one's going to open the widest, and then when you finish your playing career, then you can make a decision." I actually got offered the reserve team manager's job at Charlton when I was there. Ian Dowie was the manager, and he offered me the reserve job. But I felt like he was pensioning me off a little bit early. I was only 33, and I still felt like I had a bit more to give. So I decided not to. He got sacked 6 weeks later as well. So that was
Scientist.
Seems to be a history here, isn't there? But when I finished, it was a case of which one would open the widest, and I got asked to do the local show, on at BBC, wasn't it? It was at can't remember what it's called now.
BBC Radio Suffolk.
Yeah.
London, BBC London, was it?
No, the
Look East, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
Look East, the
TV one,
highlight
wasn't it? Yeah,
highlight show.
That's it, yeah.
And that door to the media just opened wider, really, than management.
Terry's good at opening doors, Terry, aren't you?
Yeah. I made a few impressions on the doors, yeah. Very good. But nothing. Well, they all open wide, but not wide enough for me, I think.
But you'd written a column in the Independent, hadn't
Did
you,
a column
when you
in
were
the
at Town?
Independent, yeah. It was just something that I always felt reasonably comfortable in the media and enjoyed being in the media. A lot of players don't enjoy it, don't like to be able to in front of camera or talking to press or whatever, or press conferences or whatever it might be. But that never really fazed me. In fact, when I was at Bournemouth, I was the captain at Bournemouth when I was 20 or 21 maybe, and went into administration at Bournemouth. And I had to speak in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people at the Winter Gardens in Bournemouth to sort of plead for support from the fans to try and keep the club alive. And I was sort of 21, 22, thinking, crikey, this is quite daunting, really. But it's just sort of I always saw it as part and parcel of the job, really. I think it's never really bothered me, and I really enjoy being able to go to matches now. I mean, I work for the Premier League as well, so I work. Do a show on a Monday for them and then go to matches all the time. I'm at Brentford Liverpool this weekend, for instance, and always at games, doing Champions League matches next week, Porto Arsenal next week and stuff. So it's a really varied. It's not a full-time job as in 7 days a week or 5 or 6 days a week. It's very varied week to week. Some weeks I'm going to be working 5 days, some weeks three days. It varies from week to week, and it's quite nice, really. It's a bit, if you're a manager, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you've got the hassle of all sorts going on.
You never fancied the coaching side, never getting on that.
Yeah, I mean, I did my B licence, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. But as I say, that I've just seemed to have gone down that route more than the media route, more than the coaching route. It's just how it's happened, really. Remember Carl Robinson? I was talking to Carl Robinson, and he was saying, if you're a manager, honestly, you never switch off. You don't. 10:30 at night, he said, I'm getting calls. One of your players has been arrested in Manchester. He said, I've got to deal with that then at 10:30 at night on a Saturday.
I've been there many times.
Yeah.
Not in prison, not in jail, but I have to get the players out of jail.
Kieran now is an absolute workaholic. Honestly, he is a workaholic. We had a dinner for the foundation not that long ago, and he said, I'm going to shoot if you don't mind. I've got to shoot. He said, I've got 2 games to watch of, say we're playing Sheffield Wednesday, I don't know. He said, of Sheffield Wednesday for the game Saturday. He was leaving at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And he's going to go back home and watch 2 matches of Sheffield Wednesday with the opposition at the weekend.
He said that, but really, what was he doing?
I believed him anyway.
He's clever. He's clever.
It's incredible. I think, yes, it's a very difficult job, isn't it? I think it is all-encompassing, isn't it?
It's why I've not gone quite as grey as some others.
Yes, that's probably true. Yeah. We haven't mentioned World Cups. I mean, obviously you played and scored at the World Cup as well. I mean, that's quite something, isn't it?
It's not bad, is it?
You scored against Cameroon.
Scored against Cameroon.
And then you missed a penalty shootout and the shootout was playing.
Yeah, I was letting Terry mention that, but
you teed him up nicely too, Shay. Well, lovely.
But actually, I mean, I
took 8 penalties in my career. That's the only one I missed.
Really?
Yeah.
But what I find interesting is that kind of with England, I think you'd have been all over the back page of the Sun and kind of, they'd like been... With Ireland, I think it's a very different thing, isn't it? The way that it's viewed. I don't think there's ever been negative thing in that way.
Not at all. To be honest, it was a tough one, that. Obviously to score in the World Cup is amazing. To play in the World Cup, I mentioned my dad earlier, he was there. My wife, my 2 boys, my cousin were all out in Japan. But to score in a World Cup is, it's like amazing. And then to miss a crucial penalty is pretty difficult to take. Luckily, I wasn't the only one. If you're the only one, you feel even more weight and so I remember after the game, I just went to the room and I was in tears, phoned my wife, and I got a knock on the door. And it was Kevin Kilban, and he'd missed a penalty as well, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, nothing. I said, "I'm just going to stay in. I'm not going to do anything." I said, "I'm just, difficult to live with that. What's happened?" He went, "Come on, we're all going out. Every single one of us is going out for a night out. Just make sure you come." I said, "No." Anyway, he convinced me. I said, "All right then. All right, we'll go out." Went to this bar, and ended up in a nightclub. Michael Flatley had the VIP section or whatever, as he do. Michael Flatley. You think, Michael Flatley, blimey. So we're in there then having a few drinks. Come out of this nightclub about 4 a.m. Gary Kelly's doing the river dance on top of Michael Flatley's car. You're thinking, right, Michael, he said, right, get in the limo. He said, we're going to go back to my... So he'd taken over the whole top floor of a hotel. So we're in the car now. We're going to Michael Flatley's apartment. We get back to the hotel. He went, just ring room, so order whatever you want, beers, breakfast, whatever you want, just order it. I sat on the windowsill in this apartment. I think, is this really happening? This is the most... About 6 hours ago, I was in my room crying, thinking I'm not going out. I'm now sat in Michael Flatley's apartment in Japan. I'm thinking, what has gone on here? It was the most surreal moment of my life.
Oh,
then you had an incredible reception when you returned, didn't you?
Yeah, Phoenix Park. We got back and there was hundreds of thousands of people, and it was amazing. I mean, fantastic.
Great times. Matt Holland, everybody. Time for this week's Keep It Up Challenge, sponsored by our friends at Ginger Pickle. Now, Matt, the leaderboard is up there, and Scoey is still at the top of our leaderboard, but you are under treatment at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
But it does mean you're going to have to come back again when you're feeling better.
Yeah, no problem at all.
It's amazing because he didn't miss a game one game in 6 years.
Listen,
and now he's retired, he can't even do this. Come on,
if it was a game, I'd be playing. Don't worry about that.
223 consecutive appearances, by the way. I did look it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite something. And the Brightling Sea water helped, didn't it?
The Brightling Sea water. George swore by it. Yeah, I think he every time I had a knock or a bruise or a sore ankle or something, just get yourself down the beach, healing water, that'll sort it. So, the amount of hours I spent in Brightling Sea water.
I've heard it called some things in my time, but never Brightling Sea water, especially with the George.
Yeah.
So we'll excuse you this time, but that
Thank
does
you,
give us an
yeah.
excuse to get you back. And thanks to our friends at Ginger Pickle for sponsoring that. Don't forget, if you want to find out more about what we're up to, if you want some of our merch, we've got mugs, we've got shirts, all sorts of things, go onto our website. It's www.lifesapitch.tv. Mugs and T-shirts up for grabs on there. And we've got some events coming up as well, so keep an eye on the website, www.lifesapitch.tv. If you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe and like. That makes all the difference. Time now for Town News in Brief, sponsored by John Keeble Cars of Bramford with Phil Ham from twtd.co.uk.
I'm a bit annoyed that the cartoon looks better in the hat than I do, which is...
Well, it's not hard, really.
No, it's not really. So anyway, kind of the big sort of news story of the week relating to Tam was on Tuesday. The Guardian reported that Crystal Palace had failed in an attempt to lure Kieran McKenna to Selhurst Park. The Eagles are long-term admirers of McKenna, and it was reported that Chairman Steve Parish spoke to the town boss's representatives but were told he isn't willing to consider leaving Portman Road while the Blues are challenging for promotion to the Premier League. However, Palace, who still have Roy Hodgson in the job, and Roy Hodgson actually taken ill today and I think is in hospital, so we obviously wish him well. He's still currently their manager, but they've subsequently, since the Kieran McKenna report, have been reported to be in talks with former Eintracht Frankfurt manager Oliver Glasner about taking over, which I'm sure comes as a relief to all town supporters. However, it does only appear a matter of time before there is further interest in McKenna from the Premier League, although, of course, Town may well be a top-flight club themselves by May.
What do you mean, Mike? Up a town.
Right, okay, yeah, Will. I can't say. Tuesday's 4-0 win at Millwall was McKenna's 100th game in charge of the Blues, during which time they've won 57, drawn 31 and lost 12, picking up a remarkable 202 points, an average of 2.02 points per game. Even I can do that maths. Scoring 189 and conceding 87, which obviously is... hugely impressive and very difficult to imagine that anyone else in football has managed those in their first 100 games, those stats in their first 100 games. Elsewhere, new Blackburn manager John Eustace says he'll hold talks with club captain Lewis Travis about his future in the summer. Eustace took over at Ewood Park at the end of the last week following the departure of John Dahl Thomason. Travis, whose Rovers contract runs to the summer of 2026, joined Town on loan in January, having made few starts in his preferred holding midfield role in the previous few months under Thomason, with suggestions at the time of his move that the pair didn't see eye to eye. Eustace says he's yet to speak to Travis about his future, but he's a player he's always rated. So far, Travis has made 2 starts and 1 sub-appearance, including a sub-appearance at Millwall last night for the Blues. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him, whether he's seen as a kind of short-term stopgap for Town or whether there'll be... talks in the summer about a longer-term move. A bit too early to judge him, I think, at the moment. Elsewhere, Town have been granted planning permission for an extension to the gym at their Playford Road training ground. The application, which was made in mid-December, outlined the addition to the back of the main training ground building. Speaking in September, CEO Mark Ashton said renovating the club's training ground was the next big project, and then in December, on Life's a Pitch, confirmed that the Blues had completed the purchase of the small section of land retained by former owner Marcus Evans following the takeover. The gym extension is likely to be a precursor to the more extensive training ground work to come, with further improvements to Portman Road also in the long-term plans, including a replacement for the Cobbold stand.
All right. Thank you very much. That is the news.
That is the news.
That is the news. Thank you very much. It's time to take a look now and see what's happened to Ipswich Town on this day in the past, brought to you in association with Fred Olsen Logistics.
Right, on the 15th of February, there's a few little things went on. Northern Ireland midfielder Brian Hamilton's brace enabled Town to beat Aston Villa 3-2 in the FA Cup 5th round at Portman Road. That's when we used to get further than the 5th round.
Remember it well.
Yes. Also, on Tuesday the 15th of February in 1977, Trevor Wymark's scintillating hat-trick saw Norwich City destroyed 5-0 at Portman Road as the Blues leapt to Division 1's summit. John Walk and Paul Marner scored the other 2 goals. Also on the 15th, but it was March actually, Captain Fantastic Matt Holland scored an early goal in a 1-0 win at Sheffield Wednesday, which cemented Ipswich Division 1 playoff credentials. But that was March, so I jumped ahead a month there.
Yeah, jumps ahead.
That was especially for you. He doesn't do that for anybody else.
No, he's done that.
No, just for you. Captain Fantastic.
Yeah, that's a great tag. That's what you were called, wasn't it? Captain Fantastic.
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah,
there was a magazine that someone gave me at the club today, and it was Captain Sensible. That's what it said on the. That's what it said on the front of this magazine, Captain Sensible. So yeah.
One thing I was going to mention that we've not spoken about was the final game for Town at Derby, which was 4-0. You scored with your final touch, didn't you?
Yeah.
Not many players can say that, can they?
No. Yeah, but what was it? 4. It was
4, yeah.
4, wasn't it? Yeah. 90th minute, I think. Pull back and side foot it into the back of the net, and I pretty much knew then as well that I was going. I knew that we hadn't gone up. We weren't going up. We weren't in the playoffs. So I knew pretty much that was probably my last game in an Ipswich shirt. So yeah.
I just got to ask you one thing here in my notes I've got down here.
They are extensive. I noticed that. You've done your homework, haven't you?
Not really. Yeah. But there's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
You've had a great career, but you are colourblind. Is that right?
Yeah.
So can you tell the difference between?
It's a good excuse when I gave the ball away.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Was it red? Is it blue and green, or what was it? What was
it's strange, really. I mean, funnily enough, there's 1 in 12 men are colourblind. It's quite a lot, and 1 in 200 women are colourblind. But it's I think the female gene that passes it down. So my mum obviously gave us the gene because I'm one of 3 boys. We've all got colour blindness to some degree. You know, when they take you to the doctors and you have those dots and you have to pick a colour. And pick a number. Sorry, tell them what the number was on the dots that they in the book. And I think sort of reds, greens, blues, purples. I was always a little bit.
Has it ever affected you on the pitch?
I would say playing for Ireland, wearing a green shirt.
No.
You thought it was a blue one, yeah.
It affected me. It only ever affected me once because normally the colours of the shirts are so different. But a couple of times commentating, it's been difficult where the shirts have been quite similar. But the only time it ever affected me was my very first game for Charlton. We were in red. We'd gone to Plymouth on a pre-season tour, and they were in dark green. And we had no change of kit, so we had to wear red. And I remember sort of 5 minutes into the game, I was really struggling. It was a pre-season friendly, fortunately. It wasn't a competitive. It wasn't a competitive. It was a pre-season friendly.
You didn't go in the wrong changing room.
But 5 minutes into the game, I ran to the bench and I said to Mervyn Day, I said, "We've got a problem here." I said, "I can't tell the difference between the 2 kits." And he just looked at me and went, "What the have we signed?" Like that. So yeah, that's the only time that it ever really affected me. Yeah.
Wow. I
didn't swear, did I? know?
I think everybody would recognise yellow shirt because of the badge on it, and you'd obviously feel sick as well. So there we are. You would know it's a Norwich one.
Hang on, you wore one.
Canary above our head, you know. Anyway, look.
You stop it, you. I'll tell you now. You've gone too far this time. I'll see you outside in the car park, little egghead.
We've got one thing to do before we finish, and that is the Man v Fat results that have come through for us. Here we go. This is from Man v Fat Mark. Another successful night of football and weight loss at Portman Road this week, as our 66 Man v Fat players lost another 24.8 kilograms, bringing the season's total to 148.5 kilograms, or 23 stone in 4 weeks. Pork Vale and Man Titty are currently joint top of the table, with the results as follows. Far From Athletic 9, Pork Vale 14. LA Galaxy Bar 10, Man Titty 12. Yes. Seattle Quarter Pounders 13, To Lose a Few Pounds 5. L'Argentina 5, FC 20 Stone 13. Man v Fat team name of the week comes from our friends in the Norwich League. Ooh. Which is Flaberdine. Well done, Town, on a great performance last night. We're done for tonight. Matt, thanks ever so much for coming in, sharing the sofa with us. Keep up the good work on Town TV, and let's hope, fingers crossed, that we're up in the Premier League next season where you took us before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you to the guys. Cheers, Phil. Thank you to all of you as well. Thank you.
Great guest. Fantastic. When the knee's better,
I'll
I've got to get you back on the Keep You Uppy challenge, definitely. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Big thank you to DPS Tech, as always, our main sponsor. We're also supported by All About Hearing, marketing company Ginger Pickle, Forward Floors, Come Hither Design, the Hudson Group, Sound 4 Pro Audio, Fred Olsen Logistics, John Keeble Cars in Bramford, the Dove in St Helens Street in Ipswich, Ashford Wright as well, and our sofa is sponsored by DPS Tech. Thank you, Capacity Crowd. You've been incredible. Thanks to everybody who's been on the show. We'll see you next week on Life's a Pitch TV. In the meantime, up the town, everybody! Up the town!